Records. All right, so we'll start with some quiz questions. So I'll put them on the board. There's going to be a phone component where you can take out your phone and vote with your phone. We should have pretty decent signal in here. So the website, let me grab it here. It is operative.com, and you're going to log in as a student. Get the number in a minute. Operative.com. My son lives in a furnished apartment and he has broken a plate. He lives down in DC. Ken probably remembers I used to bring my kids when they were that high. They used to come with me to all my games. They videoed the games. This is before we had the video that we have today. And some of the video that I show in my training came from my kids filming basically our crews on the field. And both of them have translated that work both into being officials themselves, but also working at their universities, getting a little extra work videoing for the schools, which is nice. All right, I got to log in, change the room, and I'll let you know what the room name is. So bear with me. Yes.
And then you have the agents, you might not have to see the salary. I do, I don't have any service, so no internet, I check on that website. That's gonna know part, they have consumer solar.
All right, so the room name, you guys see the room name yet?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Ask you for the room name? Okay, the room name is ECFO. All right, I'll throw this up on the board so everybody can see it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, they are. All right, question number one. This is a Rule 1 question. Players from the home team are getting off the bus, and the home team players shout obscenities at them all the way as they walk into the locker room. The officials are in the locker room and have not yet taken the field. Let me also share that screen so people can see it if they're watching the video. They are still in the locker room. They've not yet taken the field at this time. They do not personally witness the action. What penalty can the officials enforce? Let's take a look down. You guys can think about it. You can refer to Rule 1 packet if you want to. 4 options are 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct charged to head coach, a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct charged to each home team player who participated in the actions described, and the players will be disqualified. Could be a lot of yards, right? We're kicking off from the goal line. Forfeiture of the game and suspension of the head coach, or the nothing. But the officials can report it to their supervisor, however, cannot penalize the action. Now, I do this way with my students in class as well. I like to do this because people feel embarrassed when their names are attached to wrong answers. So don't feel any pressure. Nobody's going to know how you answered. It's just going to show up as a bar graph. I mean, there's only 2 of us here. If you want to try it too.
Yeah, I tried by getting on the website.
You can hook up to Griswold, the Griswold Public. If you go to Wi-Fi, there's a Wi-Fi service here. They don't ask you to do it. If you'd like to. Okay, we got one answer. I'll wait and show results until both students have answered. I see you peeking in your. You got the cheat sheet right there. Well, there is something in Rule 1 that tells you exactly. It's pretty early in Rule 1, as a matter of fact. Now, the homework I asked was about some other things, but I always like to put this question because this happened to me at Pontigansett. I was at Pontigansett Situate. Pontigansett Situate are three-time rivals in Rhode Island. And Pontigansett was home. Situate was getting off the bus. And what we did see when we get out on the field is Situate was warming up in one end zone. And Pontigansett came out of their locker room and chased them out of the end of the end zone. They had been warming up and said, "That's our end of the game." And made a lot of hooting and hollering, general roughhousing. And that did earn the coach a flag. Let's take a look at the brave souls we've answered so far. All right, we got 100%. That is the correct answer. While you're in the locker room, you're not yet taking jurisdiction. This is pretty much universally true across all sports. You cannot penalize something based on hearsay. And I think this is directly in the rule book verbatim. It generally is a half hour before the game. We're out on the field. That's when we take jurisdiction. Don't make up stuff, but that's also true anytime you're on the field. Even if you don't see something happen, you don't have personal, actually eyewitness, like I see it, or if somebody says something assembly and you could hear it, you can't penalize. So you can't penalize it. Oh, this kid spit on me. I mean, I've seen cases where I look at the kid's face and I can see spittle on the face. Maybe if there was nobody else around, but only one reason that kid could have got right. You can only call what you see, right, Ken? I mean, we've had situations, where we've had penalties that have been picked up because two officials saw it totally differently, right? We get together and one official actually felt like, well, actually, maybe I didn't. Maybe I only saw the end of it. Maybe I only saw the player on the ground and I don't know how he got there. But the other official saw the whole action, right? If you don't see it, you can't penalize it. And that's a big reason why we don't go looking for it. Go to the next question. All right, number 2. Which of these is not a line on the football field? We have the touch line, we have the sideline, we have the hash mark, the goal line, the sideline, and the yard line. So all of these are a line on the football field except one. I think after you answer it, maybe gives you an answer personally.
No, the next question.
Oh, it does. All right, we got a couple answers. Have you answered, Pops? All right, let's take a look. Okay, good. Touch line is the soccer line. Equivalent in many ways to a sideline. All right, next, another rule 1, something I talked about on the video. What do the 9-yard marks represent? Okay, we got line to gain. These are very important places on the field, of course. The top of the number is the crown of the field. What about the hash marks? The location of the try or the pylons? So giving you guys kind of a taste of what it's like in the regular season. All football officials get a test. It's not 50 questions. It used to be 100. Yeah. So we all take a test every year. It's not designed to bust our brains. It's not designed to make us embarrassed or humiliate us. It's not designed to prevent us from officiating. It's designed to get us to open the rule book, hunt it down, find the text, because it's fresh now. And if this ever happens, we're ready, right? Because we prepare, right? In high school football, the rules study really is I feel like it's a 12-month thing. Not everybody feels that way, but I mean, there's a lot. I mean, the rule book, it's small print, it's written by lawyers, you can get lost in the details sometimes. You need to continue to review it. I like to go through one rule every month or so. Like this month, I've been really looking over Rule 4. I think it's only 3 pages long. But Rule 4 is, dead ball, live ball stuff. Pretty important, right? We got to know when the ball's dead, right? All right. All right, great. So the bonus question, why do we care about the top of the numbers? Why does that matter? Carlos, you played football, right? Where did you guys take timeouts? Did you guys take timeouts in the middle of the field or on the sideline? Sideline, right? So if you have a timeout and the coaches want to talk to the players, they've only got two options. One coach can go out and stand with the players out in the middle of the field between the hashes, or all the coaches could talk to all the players on the sideline outside this position, outside the top of the numbers. They can do that every play. They don't even have to call a timeout to have that kind of conference. Every play in between, the quarterback can go over there and talk to all the coaches. The whole offense can go over there. They just have a play clock ticket down. But they can go over there. Somebody gets injured, they can go over there.
It's also important too, because like when you have a substitution, right, it should need to be inside the nine, so inside the numbers. Because there's the whole deception thing that is unfortunate mentality, so you can't sneak someone in last minute. Right, before you are allowed to do that, you pretend like you're talking to your coach, you slide over and that person's uncovered.
Yep.
But now by the time that ball is snapped, if you're going to substitute, you have to be inside those times. That's the other. It's for timeout raising football.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the hideout play is something that I feel like it happens every year somewhere in the country. Somebody will send a video, and I guess this past year it happened in Connecticut playoff football.
State final.
Oh, wow.
In the state final, kid kind of wandered off they kind of stuff. Remember, they sent, I think, 3 players off or something, 2 players on, or the other way around. So it appeared that the same number had come in, but one kid had just kind of hung out near the sideline.
And they actually have a playoff for dollars.
It wasn't penalized at all.
Big one.
When I coached Pee Wees, I did that play, but it was allowed back then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they made it explicitly illegal until a few years ago. But the substitution rule has been that way for a long time. So we've always been able to penalize it as an illegal substitution. But that rule is also under rework this year. I don't have the wording for it yet, but again, I think they're trying to make it more similar to what we understand from pros and from college for substitutions. All right, let's go on to the next play. One thing I've learned is that any question like this, you could spend a whole class period talking about. All right, this is kind of a gotcha question. If you've ever gone to the store to buy a kicking tee, they're all printed the same way. They're all made the same way. But did you know that in college, it's a different tee than in high school? It is a different tee. So in high school, how many inches can the ball be raised by a kicking tee for a place kick? Place kick, of course, it could be a kickoff, could be a field goal. Either way, same number. Well, we already got our answers. All right, 2 out of 3. I'm going to check. Yes, excellent. Yeah, now we're not going looking at this, right? We're not going to go look for it because you can't really buy a 3-inch kicking tee. But there are high schools that will bring out the 1-inch one because they got a deal on it with on Amazon. They can certainly use one that's lower if they want it, right? But the 2-inch and the 1-inches are the only ones available, so we really don't have to worry about the kicking tee. If they have a tee, they can use it. Right? If it looks like something they made with a 3D printer, bring out one that's been commercially made. Yeah. All right. Where are the chains kept during the game? I directly refer to this in the video. You may not need to look. And the reason I ask this question every year is because every year we'll have a chain crew in a youth football game have their own idea about where those chains are kept. And they'll be difficult to convince otherwise. So where are the chains kept during the game? We got the sideline, the hash marks, even with the front of the team area, or even with the uprights. I wonder if there's ever been a time in football where they just put the chains right on the middle of the field. Well, they used to put the uprights on the goal line, right? Long time ago. Long time ago, there'd be some horrendous collision with some poor receiver.
That's what they do.
Yeah, a lot of times. When I go to Europe, and these are the two choices that you end up coming down to. When I go to Europe, they play American football in Europe, and they also play in South America. And a lot of their fields are soccer fields without any lines for football at all. And they just do the best they can, right? They follow our still line rules, 9-yard marks and all that stuff, even though they can't mark off the club soccer team at the field that they borrow. We still play the game, even if the lines aren't right. But yeah, we don't want the chains on the sideline. We want it to be even with the front of the team area, and that's 2 yards off the field. So why would we want to do that? Why would we care about where if the chains are right up on the sideline or if they're pulled back 2 yards? Why does that matter? Right. And you'll know that either the chain crew was distracted or they had wrong place the following game because the chain will be bent. Right. And I did have a game where a poor softball player who was helping out with the balls, they were ball people getting balls in and out, had her ACL torn. She was aware, but all the players were there, and they kind of the Red Sea separated, and all the players were coming down on top of her. She turned to run, and they clipped right on the back of her heel. We got to keep everybody safe. Keep them back. Make sure they're not looking like this on their phone while the play is going on. I've had plenty of times where I've had to talk to people about, hey, I'm just going to get someone else if, you're texting on your phone because this is like safety. This is important. This is really for safety. Of course, it's no fun for a player to run into their chains either. All right, spring pre-games warm up. If you notice a player with a football jersey that has 00, can that player participate with that jersey? Another Rule 1 question. I think this question ends up on the 50-question test sometimes too for the veterans. I will say this. New officials do not have to take the 50-question test. I give you guys a test, and all the questions basically come from these quizzes. So if you've been doing the quizzes, you've been paying attention, and it's open notes, right? And you got to pass. You don't have to get 100. So if you guys pass the clinic test at the end of the training, you guys have passed the test for the year. But Pops, you'll have to take the 50-question test next year. Did you take it last year?
I did anyway, but I had to want your test.
Yeah. So how did you find the 50-question test?
Well, again, I was in your classes, so you had a lot of information that you gave in your classes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's helpful that that these courses are taught with an eye on those kind of test questions. So I feel like it's a good idea for me to give you questions that kind of resemble the kinds of questions you're going to see. But these questions are generally not worded this way when you talk to a coach. Coaches don't understand this whole idea about A is the offense, team B is the defense. They don't necessarily understand if I say encroachment, they don't make a difference between that and offside, right? We don't have offside in high school football, and there's no such thing as a lateral in high school football. Coaches don't know that, right? So, but on tests, there's a certain lingo. All right, nice job. We can't have two kinds of zeros. We can have one kind of zero and just one kind of zero. So they eliminate 00 to make it simpler. At some other levels where you can have 130 people on your team roster, you can, but not in high school. All right, now there are some jersey changes that come about. One of the biggest problems that we see is when two teams come out in a youth game and the numbers are difficult to read, or the kid's jersey doesn't fit, and so it's kind of folded up and his belly's showing, but the number is invisible because he can't pull it down to show his number, or receivers are in the middle of the line. Like it looks like everybody on the team is eligible because they don't have any numbers. As you guys may have read, 50 through 79, those are the lineman numbers. Those are the linemen you can't be eligible to receive a pass.
But we shouldn't see a lot of issues anymore with that because they made it very clear in football to start budget for these issues. So especially
Yeah,
we're not going to nitpick the 8 and 10, but that should not be even a concern. All the numbers have to be approved.
that's good.
Because they are now officially in federation.
Good. Well, that's going to only be better for us, right? Because the new officials start in the youth leagues. And if you guys see basically the same rules, but just smaller players, it's a slower game, then you'll be ready when you're ready to move up to the higher game because those kind of things won't change. All right, we got an eye shield, into the eye shield. Thankfully, this rule is the same at every level. So player can't tell you, man, I'm ready for the next level. I can wear my cool, shades, no. Clear. But they can wear sunglasses under their visor if they want. The reason is for the trainer. If they're unconscious, the trainer may not be able to remove the helmet, but can move the glasses and still see and do the pupil test and all that sort of thing. It's safety of the player. It's a medical reason, but you can't have a tinted eye shield. If you really have a vision problem, wear sunglasses. You'll be all set. And the last question. All right, which of these blocks is only accomplished by 2 players acting together? It's the only multiplayer block. So we have open hands blocking, stiff arms, defenders pulling opponents to get to the ball carrier, blocking below the waist, chop block, or clipping. So only one of these is 2 players acting together, and we've already got 2 people who answered. Nice job. Let's take a look. All right, so clipping. Now, Pops, you might have seen that a lot back in the day, back when clipping was a broader definition, right? It used to be that clipping was any block behind the back, basically in the back. Now clipping is only a block in the back, but below the waist. But you only need 1 player to do that. Chop block, by definition, is 1 high, 1 low.
Very engaged.
That's the most common reason, right? But sometimes it can be at the same time. Typically what happens there is 2 guys miss the assignment. So one guy knows he's supposed to block low on a kid, and the other lineman thinks he's supposed to block him too. And they both block the same kid, double team, but one kid's low, right? It also happens on pass protection. So the running back is back there. He doesn't want to take on that lineman that's coming down because he outweighs him, different weight class. So he wants to get low to take him out to prevent him from getting to the quarterback, but he doesn't realize that the center has still got his hands on him, still pushing him. And you get that chop block. That's why coach is going to they're going to yell, they're chopping us. They're chopping us. Well, they're probably blocking below the waist, coach, but they're not chopping because that would be a multiplayer, 1 high, 1 low block. Penalty's the same if it's a foul, but in the middle of the line play, like when everybody is kind of in that muddle in the middle right after the snap and they're all just a cloud of dust, you're allowed to cut in that initial rush. You're allowed to cut. Again, not allowed to chop ever. So you're never allowed to double team high-low. Not after the snap, not slowly, not fast, not. You're allowed to block below the waist, but only initially at the snap, basically, before the ball has left the area around the snap. And we'll talk more about that as we get into roll 7. but those old days when you would have the Green Bay Packers student body right and all those linemen are running out and the defensive guys are coming in, cutting those guys, those big body linemen to get to the running back. Can't do that anymore. Can't do that. You got a pulling center going out there to block somebody and the center decides to cut. Can't do that anymore. Can't do that. Got to be up front. You got to be in the vision of the player that's going to be going to hit, or else you got to do. You can't just lay them out. You can't light them up. You can't see it coming. A lot of safety rules have come in, and we've seen major injuries on those, right, Pops? You've seen them back in the day. And you must have been in that meeting. We saw that poor New London kid, a few years ago. His season was ended. I think his career ended, and that was by a defender coming in low and taking him out. Right? There's not much we can do. But I'll tell players, you know what? There was a kicker in a college game who did an onside kick, one of those little dribblers up the middle. Everybody's kind of waiting. And the guy in the defense came in, cut him. He didn't play anymore the rest of the team. He also had no pads at all. So, I mean, I'm not saying pads are going to save you from an injury, but we do care about pads in high school football. That's not on the quiz, but we do need them to have pads covering their knees. We need them to have pads, the hip pads. We need them to have the girdle, right? Exactly, because, these kids are growing. The long bones are at risk, right, of injury. I can't tell you how hard it is to watch some of the college players that go and actually get a training bra and they'll cut it smaller and they'll put it in because it's a pad. They want something as little as possible. They don't want any obstruction over their knees so they can run like the wind. And kickers, they don't want any restriction as they come through the ball. They feel like it's slowing them down. They feel like it's cutting their edge. In high school, they don't get any flexibility from us, right? All right. Well,
on the chains last year, and the defensive line was, cutting along every single play.
yes.
Offensive line was huge linemen, and defensive line, that's again, illegal, wasn't chopping up. One player against one player.
Well,
The whole line. He's not running back, run a little team,
Well, also, Killingly High School, they have very athletic linebackers. That's one thing that they're really well known for. And their linebackers want to pursue the ball. So the linemen will cut right at the beginning to create a pile basically in the middle that the linebackers can leap over or the linebackers can basically go around. So, the defense will also block below the waist. It's part of their scheme, right? But they've got to do it right away. They can't wait. And you can't do it at the second level. You can't have the lineman going downfield and now somebody belatedly says, oh, I want to cut him, right? So we have to be aware. And you guys are going to start on the line of scrimmage and you're going to see a lot of that kind of action if it's happening, right? And sometimes the coach will see it, right? Coach will say, hey, they're cutting our guy. Can you please watch? Can you please watch it? Coaches are sometimes right. Sometimes not. All right, let me see if I can get my mouse to go over there. Unfortunately, this touchscreen doesn't work. And let's see if I'm still sharing. And I'm also going to turn on sound. Any questions so far? All right, so I'm just going to do a quick, just a quick, vibe test. What is the difference? Can anybody explain it all? A quick like a one sentence difference between a muff and a fumble. Yeah, exactly. The key words there, because unfortunately football move is not in the rule book. We do use it as a philosophy, but possession. That's the key. You can juggle a pass and until you possess it, you can be juggling it for 50 yards and never really control it. and it finally hits the ground. Incomplete. What action did you perform? You were muffing the football the whole time. If a ball is loose, it can be muffed. It cannot be fumbled. So no ball can be fumbled if it's not in possession. It can only be muffed. That changes a lot of things because, as I said, the rule change about forward fumbles out of bounds. Muff forward, muff backward, doesn't matter, right? It's still loose based on what it was loose from before. So whatever else you got.
Typically is not associated with no pass.
Mhm.
So it's like if you're attempting to
We don't.
possession of a fumble,
Mhm.
right? Because if you keep fumbling around, that is a muff.
Right. So it could be a fumbled football that you're muffing. But why is it a fumble? Because earlier a runner had it and lost it. Right now, or it could be a kick, right? Which the most common muff I think we all hear about is right through the wickets, right? Hits the ground. It touched his arm on the way down. Now the kicking team could dive on it. That is a muff. That's the most classic muff. That is also really important because you're going to find that the kicking team cannot advance any ball that was kicked. We actually call the ball a kick by rule. It's a kick. And if that kick is recovered by the kicking team, they can't run with it anymore. It's dead. So even though the receiving team touched it, they can't pick it up and run it into the end zone. But if that receiver caught it, and as you said, started to run and then had it punched out, now the kicking team can scoop it and score. Right? So we need to know, did possession occur? If possession occurred, the kick is over. It's just a running play. Now we can advance, right? And once again, we ask wing officials a lot of times to rule on all of that action. Because you guys who've watched football games from time to time, you're going to see mostly what it looked like when you were watching games on your couch, right? It's going to look similar because you'll be on the sideline. You'll be looking down the line the way the TV camera tends to be looking. You'll watch that running back go. You know, we'll teach you about how to look at the keys you're supposed to look at. But the referee behind the quarterback, he won't know the ball came loose, right? The back judge, you might know the ball was loose, but you don't know if it's forward, backward. No idea, right? So wing officials, we put a lot on you. We expect you guys to give us information. All right, so this presentation is about the wing responsibilities. Let me try to get to tiny font. Try to get down over there to play. I think I can hit a button. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the wings. The wings are on the sidelines. That's the best way to understand the wing position. There are, in a high school varsity game, there are 5 officials. In a youth game, there are only 3. In a JV game, there are 3, maybe 4. Some upper level youth games, there are 4, even 5, right? Either way, there's always 2 wing officials, 1 on each sideline. Those ones are standing near the team box. They're next to the coaches. One of them has the chains. It's really important you guys know that because that's usually where new officials start. We usually put you in that position first, with a few exceptions. All right, so there isn't a huge crowd here, but you know, let's just try to be polite. But let's make sure that we ask questions. And any questions at this point? Have you guys heard of wing officials before tonight? They'll talk to you. They'll tell you that, right? That's all right. All right. I always like to open with this slide. I've got a friend of mine named Josh Bath. He's a deep wing in the ACC. He's somebody that I've known since he was a high school official years and years ago in another state. But these are 10 things that require zero talent. And I guarantee if you can do these 10 things and you're struggling on the rules, you're struggling on mechanics, but you can do all these things, coaches won't doubt that you're going to be in the right place because you were on time, right? You were dressed appropriately. You address people with respect. You have the right passion because you love being out there, right? You listen when people tell you things, right? If another official walks over to you and say, "Hey, were you looking at that block?" And you're like, "Actually, I wasn't. You know, what should I be doing on that play?" You're listening, you're learning. All of these things, you'll get better by accident, right? If you're doing these things. And people will also believe in you if you're doing these things. Now, what we're going to learn at the end, by the end of this, is first I'm going to tell you what's important in date wise. So if you got your calendar on your phone and you want to block out some dates just for yourself, your own knowledge, I'll talk about those dates. And you can correct me if any of them are slightly off. But I usually make a projection in August about that's when the season really kind of kicks off with training clinics, initial meetings. There's a youth football jamboree, the youth scrimmages, the youth season, the high school scrimmages. All of that stuff is August. You need to have your uniform by then. So it's important to know the dates. And we'll talk about wing official responsibilities on basically all the major aspects of the game. Okay, so these are our first few dates. This is this is not really a 3-week session. In the summer, I will be teaching a 3-week, twice-a-week session. In the spring, I teach a once-a-week, 6-week session. So you guys will be here with me for 6 weeks. The test is I believe May the 9th. And that means every Friday up until May the 9th, you'll be with me on that May the 9th. It's just the test. May the 2nd will be the last class. Does that make sense? So we'll be meeting on Fridays. I don't typically get a chance to get field time on a lot of football fields because a lot of times they're busy with other events. But Darrell Wilson has told me that as I tell him we're ready, we got some new officials, we'll get out there at NFL, Norwich Free Academy. I feel like it's a good location. It's kind of central, not too far away from everybody. It's also a turf field that's already lined permanently. If we can get that field or Montville, we have a Montville administrator right here. Then we won't be able to use that one. Well, we could go there in April. Yeah, but NFA anyway. Darrell is a city councilman, I think, in NFA in Norwich, right? Yeah. He has some sway. If we can get that field, I'll get us out there in the spring. We definitely do field sessions closer. I'm going to host at least 2, maybe 3 field sessions closer. I'll try to do one on grass, so we'll get one in Groton once they've got the field lined. I have a pretty good relationship with the youth association there. But we also have a rule review picnic. It tends to be a Saturday, but I think the last couple of years it's been a weeknight. Yeah. But we'll get that information out to you. That rule review picnic, it's a really great way to have a first chance to meet all the other officials because everybody kind of needs to pass that test. We go to that picnic and we go over the questions together as a group, right? And it's a great way to meet everybody. Somebody will bring some hot dogs. Somebody else will bring some potato salad. Somebody will bring some sausages. And it's a good time had by all underneath a band shelter in Washington Park, typically in Groton, right? We will have those sessions on the field, as I mentioned. We'll have a state clinic as well. The state clinic, which I think is going to be August 9th. It's typically the 2nd Saturday in August, but it could be the 3rd. On the 2nd.
So that date won't be set to apply. That's our first state board meeting.
So this is just pencil it here. The reason I'm going to say the 9th is because I know the collegiate clinic is the 2nd and the 3rd. And I believe that's going to be attended by lots of people who are clinicians at this. Because a lot of the people who teach new high school officials rules, like Bill Riccio, for example, they're involved deeply in the college clinic, which is the weekend before. So if it still is, because they have announced a college clinic is the weekend before, and it's held at Fairfield Ward High School. This one's typically at Notre Dame West Haven or somewhere else, kind of East Haven High School. Yeah, so it's typically in that New Haven area. They'll probably be the weekend after. So I'm guessing it'll be August 9th, but that's a parentheses. Wait and see. I'll know better in the summer. after that meeting in July. My summer class always gets privy to all the details. So I will say this also, you guys who are here, you are welcome to come to any or all of the summer classes as well. It's no additional fee. Your fee covers both these classes and those classes, especially if you start coming like in the third class or fourth class. The material you get will be driven a lot by the people in the room. So asking questions, Pops, you came to you came to the Montville classes, right?
Yes.
And they were well attended, and there was a lot of good questions there. And different veterans come to those meetings too, because some of our vets who live closer to that area will come to those meetings. But also, you're going to get an on-field assignment. Last year, the Jamborees did not work out for our new officials. I don't think it happened. Is that right? I forget why. Youth Jamboree. There was a snafu. We didn't get youth Jamboree time for most of the new officials.
No, we went to, Colchester.
We did bring new officials to St. Thomas More. To a St. Thomas More I think it was an inter squad, which was interesting because if you may know that St. Thomas More is essentially a pre-collegiate high school, post-high school team. All our players are one and done. They come to St. Thomas More. They play on this football team. Next year, it'll be a different group. They're 19, 20 years old. They're uber talented. They play at a high level. There's touch passes in the corner of the end zone. You're moving. You're seeing good quality athletic football. And that might be your first opportunity to get on the field. Now, they were very gracious in hosting us, and I hope they host us again. But I also hope we get the youth opportunity too. But we'll get you out there somewhere. The most important thing is to get you guys some snaps. Sometimes we call it grass time. The more snaps you have, the better, more comfortable. Right?
Like Dave, it's the week before Labor Day weekend. That Sunday is typically the first youth weekend.
So I might be a week out early.
Right. So then the Sundays are important because the lower levels, the U10, U8, U10, those are slower. That's where you're going to start. So there was a time where you would go out and get all 3 games. You don't anymore. We sort of break it up, but you will start at U8, U10 level. It's slower. Yeah, 14, which is like your 7th, 8th graders, is pretty similar to the JV games at high school level. Some of your U14 games are better than JV games.
Yes,
Absolutely. They didn't have
absolutely.
Colchester last year because I remember my kid got hurt because the benches were too close to the field. And then sideline play, the kid ran into the bench. That was at Colchester last year. A lot of new officials were there for that.
Good. Yeah, good. So again, we're gonna get you also mentors. I know Bruce Warfield's going to champion that and help us to get people assigned to work with you that you can talk to and say, hey, I know you got your dad. That's great. You might want to talk with somebody else.
Brian, sorry.
Oh, my God, that's so
Importantly, though, in addition to you guys having a resource, we want to let you know that I teach continually during the season. We have meetings twice a month for the whole membership, 7:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. Tuesday nights are when we meet because there's never football games on Tuesday night, except for B youth games. Sometimes they'll need a couple officials to work a youth game that's like the B level youth game. So not the varsity youth, but then kind of the backup youth, if you can imagine, right? But typically Tuesday nights we're available. I think it's a total of 5 meetings. Pops, if you could remind me, it was 2 in September, 2 in October. Was it just 1 in November?
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a ton of meetings. And actually only the 4 in September and October have the 6 p.m. mentor meeting. So the 6 p.m. mentor meeting, that's when you guys come and sit with me and your mentor. And we just discuss what happened in your games the week before. I might show a play. I might preview a play that's going to be shown in the meeting because I'm typically responsible for the video training during the regular meetings. I was also elected to be the interpreter this year. So I'm the rules interpreter for the organization. So that means that I'll give you a heads up so that you guys don't feel intimidated by raising your hand in front of a lot of veteran officials and asking a question and feel like, is this a dumb question? Right? Because in the mentor meeting, There are really no dumb questions. But I'm going to say in the veteran meeting, there's also no dumb questions, but still, it's less intimidating. It's just going to be you and all the other officials who started 3 years or less ago. So it'll just be the new officials, and you need to be there at 6. You stay at 7. The meetings can end at 7:30, 7:45, sometimes 8 o'clock. There might have been one that was longer. And then we have the meeting in November. That is the business meeting. That is when you pay your dues. They elect new officers, and they elect you guys to be full members. Your first season, you're a probationary member. All that means is you receive extra training, you receive a mentor, you get that extra field time, but you don't have to do any free games or anything like that as a probationary member. You're still a full member. You just don't vote on like bylaws and things like that. Make sense? Typically, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, you'll go into the November meeting, get voted in as a full member, and the following year you'll just be a full member in the rest of the year. Makes sense, right?
Mike, can I jump real quick?
Yeah.
When the meetings that Mike's telling you about, that you go to at 6 o'clock, they're great. You guys might show videos and you'll dissect that video. Like, what did you see? You know, something. So it's really great. And as before, the veterans come in too. So it's great. You learn a lot. You see the video. You're learning, what to look for and stuff like that. So it's really is good. And look forward.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly remember when I started out. I started in 2012. If you heard earlier, you started sometime in the early 90s. Yeah, so even back then, we need that mentoring time to just. And looking at video, it's such a great teacher. We didn't have it back in the original days. But I'm a teacher myself, and I still feel like videoing, especially of my own performance, is super instructive. That's the best you can get is videotape yourself. If you can find somebody like a friend or a relative or a girlfriend or boyfriend to go out there and stand in the stands and just film you for 10 minutes with a phone, and just look at it. There's nothing like seeing yourself on film to help you work out some things that you want to work out. Like I was the YMCA official on touchdowns. I had no idea I was like this until I saw it on film, right? I had to bring it in, right? and running with the whistle in my mouth and things like that I was doing, or the way that I was throwing my flag, I was throwing it angry, that kind of thing. So that kind of stuff shows up on film, and also all the plays, of course. Now these youth games, they do tend to start, I think, August 23rd, because that's 2 weeks before Labor Day. That tends to be the Jamboree. Tends to be. And Saturday and Sunday. The following week, the youth season will just be going, right? Meanwhile, the high school scrimmages are starting. And they start on Saturday, and then there'll be some scrimmages on Saturday, and then some on Monday, and some on Tuesday, because the school year hasn't really got going in Connecticut yet. School year really doesn't really get rolling until Labor Day around in Connecticut, or just before Labor Day. So they'll be out there. You might have a scrimmage at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. It's possible, right? You might be available. What's nice about some of the early scrimmages is that you don't have to worry about, being a new official, because in the early scrimmages, when everybody's working things out, the veteran officials assigned to the game will rotate with you, and they'll put you out on the field, and they'll give you some feedback, and the assigners will also recommend that you talk to your mentor and talk to me. You talk to Pops. Those of us, we can see the schedule. I can actually see all the games all the time. Veteran officials have access to the full schedule. You guys will only be able to see your own games for now. So if you want to know that, if you want to find out, hey, I'm open on Wednesday afternoon, I want to go to a scrimmage, is there any available? You can ask Ken, right? You can ask me. You can ask Pops. Probably you'll be able to maybe see it. I don't know. Ken, do you know how people get access to the full list? Because some officials have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember last year, some officials, even when they clicked on master schedule, it just wasn't there yet, and they have their account has to be swapped to some level that they can see it.
Yeah, any official can see the whole.
Yeah, and that's really handy. It's really handy, right? Especially in the scrimmage season, right? Because you can just, if you're free and it's in your neighborhood, right? If you live in Wyndham, for example, and Wyndham's having a scrimmage, wouldn't it be great to just be able to go over there and even know who's the referee, so you can email the referee and say, "Hey, I'm going to be there. Where are you guys meeting? Where are you guys parking? Can I join you?" You know, putting yourself out there is a great way to get that mentoring and also to get extra field time. Now we do play late into the fall. There are Thanksgiving games. JV games tend to end in very early November. Yeah, and but then high school varsity games will go right up until Thanksgiving Day, and then the playoffs are in late November or December, depending on how the season goes. You guys will get on clock assignments in your first season. So you will be doing varsity time games, but you'll be up in the booth. We have had, on occasion, new officials get on the field on varsity games when they demonstrated that they have the capacity to do so, correct? Yeah. And do you always put them as a wing, or do you sometimes put them as a back judge? Sometimes put them. Yeah, because we do have a shortage. This is not unique to football. This is common in every sport. We go to that meeting, I think in June, typically, and we sit with all the other boards and all the other sport. Everybody's struggling to find enough officials. So we're really excited that you guys are here. All right. Oh, now let's talk about once we're on the field. We're on a scrimmage play. Scrimmage doesn't mean it's not a real play. Scrimmage plays are just any play that starts with the ball between the center's legs and he snaps. We have a list of things that we need to be thinking about. One of the first things is knowing where the chains are, right? Knowing that the chains are safe and out of our way. Knowing that we're safe, right? Knowing that you called it the box, right? Stay out of the box. Knowing that the box is clear, right? But now what about directed on the field? Can you guys think of anything that you might need to know before the ball is snapped to make sure that we're actually officiating correctly? Something that if we don't do this, it could result in missing a foul. What do teams need to be doing before the snap? Think about the offense. Think about the defense.
Over the line.
Mhm.
Who, on the line, on the line.
Yeah, you played them, so you probably remember. Were you a receiver?
I played receiver and then defensive back.
So both, right? And if you're in that defensive back or receiver, you often are going to find yourself looking at the sideline. The ref is saying something to you, right? He's
on the line, and
yeah, and that's probably the first thing as a wing official you learn is how to indicate that widest guy is on the line or not. It's just one of the things that you start with that wide receiver on or off the line, but also counts.
Yeah, that's probably first before anything else, because
Sure.
you want to make sure there's 11. So depending on the level, it's like at the end of the day, it's you have half the crew counting offense, half counting defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't split 5.5, but at the year level, you're going to count your own sideline. Probably the JV level is the same thing, but the varsity level is depending on which one you are, you're responsible for offense. Typically, if you have the change, you're not responsible for counting, but we're all responsible for counting defense. Mm-hmm. Particularly if you have guys coming from your sideline onto the field, you usually, if it's in the run of plays, it's second down. One guy runs up and one guy runs on. If they were good before, 1 minus 1 plus 1 is the same. Right? Go back where we started. So these two, we should try to master in the scrimmages, right? We need to be ready with these two. These two, we got to be good to go because counts tells us that we don't have too many people on the field. And widest on the field or off the field tells us who's eligible, whether the formation is legal, right? So it's super important that the play gets off to a good start. Now, that's not all. These are some other things you might be able to learn. One thing that some officials who aren't keeping up with play is they aren't getting in position and actually being still and facing the field, ready to officiate, right? That's something that, believe it or not, you may think it's easy,
I find that new officials struggle a little bit. They get a little bit of happy feet, they get a little bit nervous. Maybe they're a little bit turned like this as the play's about to start, right? But we need to be facing the field because you got defense, you got offense, you got all that right there in front of you. You take a deep breath, you're ready to officiate. But what else? The clock. Is the clock running? Should it be running? Is there any time left on the clock? Is the period ending? Right? Did we start it correctly? You know, that kind of thing we should know. And also, what down is it? Have you guys heard about losing the down? Where a team gets an extra play that they shouldn't have got? Yeah, it happened in the NFL. I remember Jerry Glanville yelling at an official saying the NFL stands for not for long. He's making that mistake. But yeah, it happens in college, it happens in high school, it happens in youth. Super important that we keep track of what down it is, right? I mean, as you learn, you also start to learn where the first down is. So that we know, without having to look back at the stick, we know how far we gotta go, right? All of these things are gonna come with time, right? But most importantly, count the defense. If it's good, give an indication. Let your crew, especially the guy with the chains, let him know, hey, defense, we're good. We're good on defense, right? We'll let the we'll let that referee worry about the
Like as the wing official, so if Mike is.
I'm just gonna flip it, here.
And popping around the outside, right, is why it's important for us to look at like the thumbs up that he has 11, because now our next job is to make sure that we have 7 on the line of scrimmage. So the easiest way to know that is if we have 4 in the backfield, right, there's 7 on the line of scrimmage. So if he has his thumb up, that's 11, and you just count 4 in the backfield, and then that's it. And then you know you're good to go.
Well, what's nice, really nice about the new rule change is that they can have 4 in the backfield and 5 on the line of scrimmage. We're still good. You don't need to have 7 on the line of scrimmage anymore.
But he's having 4 in the back.
You can't have more than 4 in the backfield. And so if I count my defense, right, I'm good. Okay, we're all confirmed. Now that guy on the line of scrimmage is coming up, the wide receiver, he says, I'm in the backfield. They'll give you this little indication. Hey, I'm back. Right? We punch the other way. And we say, hey, that guy's in the backfield. Why? So our partner across the field knows where we just indicated this wide guy is, because that's the furthest one away from him. So now we're counting the quarterback, that's a back. We got a running back, maybe that's 2, plus the guy I'm punching. There's number 3. You only get 1 more, right? So let's take a look at mechanically how this kind of looks when we run play. If I take the play button.
First and 10 for Killingley from their own 47.
Left, that's defense. Now he's getting
Burgess, Zach Caffrey for Killingley. (52) Dasani Bennett on the tackle. Second and about 8 for Killingley from their own 49-yard line. First and 10 for Killingley from their own 47.
All right. Well, you're gonna lose a blocker.
Yeah, and it's not gonna do anything, everybody.
You know when it happens on extra point, right? It happens on punt, right? You sub a bunch of kids off, somebody forgets they're on the punt team. And in the old days, it would become an illegal formation a lot of times because, oh, they didn't have 7 on the line, but it was really a disadvantage for them. So, we stopped penalizing 7 on the line. But if they come out without a lineman, they can still kick the ball. They can still hopefully protect it. The defense may be better off not having a foul. But in any case, we got this guy here. This punch back here indicates that this guy here is a back. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now, is this guy up here punching back? That's the other official? He's not. His arm is down. That means that this receiver up here is on the line. the widest receiver is. Now we've got some bodies here. They're all on the line. We don't count them. Don't count them at all. It's no good way to do it anyway. It's really hard to see, right? Some of the youth level, maybe in the 8s, 10s, you might be able to see them, but you probably won't be able to see them here. So the referee is punching. He's got a great view because he's looking at them like this. Like I can count 1, 2, 3, right? I can see them, right? I know how many there are on offense, so it's easy for me to see. If you have 5, you got a back judge. The back judge, he's got a great look at the defense, right? Right? But when you're looking right down the line of scrimmage, it can be difficult. So we want to get that defensive count early. Before everybody's come up to the line, as they're walking up, get that defensive count. If this was 1st and 10, I think this is 2nd down, right? If it had been 1st and 10, you really want to get a great count. 2nd down, if you already had the count last play and nobody moved, nobody changed, you just go ahead and put it up. But you probably don't have to count every single player again because nobody left. Nobody came off. But who's the 4th guy? 1, 2, 3. Who's
someone over the center? Is that a quarterback over the center?
Oh, this guy right here, the one looking at his play card. Yeah. Even though he's not quarterback, right there.
Oh,
Quarterback looking at his play card, right? He's trying to figure out what play the coach just called. That is a back. So the quarterback, the 2 running backs, this receiver are all back by definition. To be a back means you have to be clearly in the backfield. And there, the definition is you have to be behind the nearest lineman, behind the waist of the nearest lineman. So if you get real technical, like I did my first year, the quarterback is breaking the waist of the lineman around him because he's under center, right? But he's allowed to. He's the one back that's allowed to be kind of in between a lineman and the back positionally, laterally, but he's considered a back. He's just counted as a back.
I know it sounds obvious too, but when you count the defense and you're punching the guy across the field, your partner, punch toward the defense. I know some common, but don't punch toward the offense when you count the 11. Punch toward the defensive team when you count the 11. And then you have that guy off the line of scrimmage when you're punching on the offenses.
Yeah, the only reason you punch towards the offense is to say about that receiver. And you don't worry about the second guy in. If the first guy is on the line, the second guy is a slot guy, you don't punch him at all. But now if we have multiple guys back and nobody near you is on, there are like 2, 3, maybe they got trips, there's 3 guys back, you would punch back. And you might even indicate, yeah, I got 2 guys back, I got 3, but you gotta do, just like Pop said, you gotta point into the offensive backfield to not confuse it with what we're doing on the defensive side. It's hard to do when you're also keeping the time, which a lot of times in JV football games, they don't have a scoreboard. So we got to have a watch. And we'll talk about that when we get to the clock. But it's pretty hard. Okay, you got defense. I got offense. When they snap the ball, I got to start the clock. So a lot of officials will just start it and then budget. But it's difficult to do. All right, let's go on to the next play. Next slide. Okay, so I tend to like to wait till the huddle is broken. I know a lot of back judges will not signal defense until they're coming up to the huddle because that's just a nice time point to look at your partner. So if they're breaking the huddle, they're coming up to the line, we communicate. Good count defense, right? Because you don't want to stand there forever, right? Huddle breaks. Now you've done this, confirm. Okay, now let's see who's on the line. Okay, we got eligible receivers on our side. It's nice to know if the referee thinks there's 11 on offense, like Ken said at the beginning. Count the backfield, see if the offensive line is actually up on the line. You guys may have seen like sometimes the tackles want to be far back so they could be ready for pass protect, but they're too far back, right? You get that V formation, like geese, right? So we have to be aware of where they are, right? And be prepared to confirm. And we're going to see in this kind of play that maybe we didn't do such a good job. Let's see if you guys can pick out the issue with the communication on this play. You can see the formation. I'm gonna start the play.
Again, two backs in the backfield, and another handoff.
Okay, both officials, both wings punch back. What does that mean? I'll go back to the play, but just what does it mean when the bottom guy punched back? We can go back to the formation.
Keep that on the line.
Okay, so this guy's punching back, saying that this guy is what? Is he a back?
And you're saying the same thing on the.
Down here? That's a back.
So, that's fine.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4. What?
Wait.
Oh, the quarterback, yeah. Remember? We got to consider him, right? If neither of these guys are getting snapped, sometimes they're in shotgun, right? So maybe they don't have 5,
More
but
often than not, when both wing officials are punching back, you're going to have a.
Yeah.
almost always, if I punch back and my partner over is punching back, I got to be real suspicious that they've got too many back. Because usually in every offensive formation, they can only be back on one side. They can't be back on both sides. Now, it's possible that they might have double tight with 2 flanker receivers back and 1 running back. That's possible. I've seen that formation. It exists, right? But check. Actually count, especially if you're both punching back. Count. And how many officials, Pop, should be throwing a flag on this?
I mean, the 2 wings,
Both,
yeah.
right? You both count to 4, and we got more than 4, so they both should throw our flag on.
Again, two backs in the backfield, and another handoff.
But I'll ask you, okay, what's the penalty?
Illegal formation.
Like a formation. Do we stop the play for this?
No, you let it run.
Let it run. Got a flag. Go into the referee. And everybody's confused because the referee does this. He does this, which everybody thinks is a false start. Right? Offense. Now, do you think the defense is automatically going to want to accept that penalty?
No, I moved it out of this. Oh, I don't know.
It was 1st and 10.
Oh, yeah.
No, get into the play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
there's no
supposed to
play.
5 yards.
Well, they lost a yard or 2. Well, actually, it looks like they're marking them where?
Like the last scrimmage, maybe.
The line of scrimmage. So if they decline,
Oh, it'll just be second.
it'll be 2nd and 10. If they accept the
It'll
penalty,
be 1st and 15.
1st down again, right? So that flag may have been ignored, but we can't assume they don't want it, right? Maybe the coach wants to push him back. It could be field goal range. It could be that they don't think that they think 15 yards is just too big a hill to climb, even if you do let them get a 1st down, right? So coaches will make a decision on this play. We're right in the middle of the field. That's the 50. So who knows? They may decline. They may take it. Who knows? Not every foul is like that. A lot of fouls are automatic, right? I mean, if it's a false start, nobody's going to decline a false start. Not going to happen. Play didn't even happen anyway, right? There's no option. But some things like this, you may have a decision.
Later, but what else I want to do is if you're throwing your flag toward the backfield, toward the team that's making the penalty. So say it's an offensive penalty, like I saw in the backfield, you're supposed to kind of go far. You're supposed to sit like that side line of scrimmage. That way, you know, the penalties against that team. Going all the other way. So
Well,
that team.
you know,
So that's what they call a spot call. That's something like might be a little later.
that is a pet peeve of mine, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I was on a game where the 2 wing officials both threw, and 1 threw on one side and 1 threw on the other. And because multiple guys got into the neutral zone, right? Some defensive guys got in, some offensive guys got in. You know who else sees what direction we throw the flag?
Coach.
The coach knows what we're doing, right? Now, when we throw it to the offensive side, and then the referee, after discussion, turns around and goes, defense. Coach is going to be like, why'd you change it? Well, we didn't. We came in, got the information, and it turned out the defense was in the neutral zone prior to offense on my side of the line of scrimmage false start. We didn't know because we don't have all the information. Get together, have all the information. So I suggest throw it up, right? Go back and get it, move to the next position. It's an old school mechanic. A lot of officials still do it. I'm not going to say never do it. I'm just going to say it's a pet peeve of mine, just in the case both one goes one way, one goes the other. It's probably a better idea to wait till after penalty enforcement. Yeah. But I will say this, it's really important in many cases to have your flag be in a position specifically, like a hold, right? That needs to be in the spot where the hold occurred, right? But a pre-snap penalty, we're always penalizing from the line of scrimmage. Doesn't matter if your flag lands in the stands, if it lands on the butt cheek of the lineman, doesn't matter. We're we're moving it backwards 5 yards from where the ball just was. So straight up in the air is my opinion, but again, not everybody will agree with me on that. All right, so now this is all still before the snap. We're looking at the line now. So we've got the linemen, we've got the backs, we've counted, we're good. Now we look in past the receiver and we see the tackle is got his hand down. That's different than tackle in pass mode, right? With his hands up. A lot of teams now are in shotgun formation. So the lineman will be up, right? We need to observe whether or not the snap is legal because you look all the way in to see the football, right? So especially in 3-man, there's no umpire. We have illegal snap. We've got to see that double pump. Not good football. They are allowed to snap it like this, put their hand on the top of the ball. They're allowed to snap it like this. They're allowed to snap it like they're passing it under between their legs, right? They can put it completely vertically though. They can put it like this and then snap it back. So we'll see a few different versions of it. But what they can't do is, right? They can't go like that. They can't go and then go, right? They can't double clutch, right? They can't do anything that's gonna be anything but one clear backwards movement. Now they can do this and go sideways. They're allowed to do that as long as it's continuous, right? There's a few teams that do that. Swinging gate, right? All these linemen are over to one side, the center's in there. That's us too. We got to look at that. We got to see that. Now, will youth teams do it? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, these are volunteer coaches. They'll do all kinds of things, right? They'll do all kinds of things. I mean, I've seen a team where all 4 backs are all lined up within inches of the center. And then 3 of them jump in the air and yell fumble. One of the 4 of them has the ball. We don't know who, and you hide it, right, with the ball. You know, you see all kinds of things in youth football. All kinds of things. All right, now if the line is in the wrong place and the snap is about to happen, don't move them. Just don't do it. I've seen so many plays where you see an official who's telling a guy, you're not on the line, you got to move up. And the guy's like, okay. And then they snap the ball at the same time that kid's trying to get in formation. Whose fault is that? That's our fault, right? That's not the kid's fault, right? We don't want to be responsible for that. So wait, if they're close, let them be legal and then talk to them afterwards.
As they're coming back to the coach, he may say, you know, the receiver was in the backfield, I have 5. No, coach, I lined up the receiver, right, on the line of scrimmage. That's why I want, you know, work her up, and then that's it, end of discussion. Mm-hmm. So you can sell it like that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, remember, what puts him in the backfield is this. If that widest guy is not on the backfield, you're down like this, right? Now, if there's a tight end that's eligible inside, you're a football
mind. You know what football players do. You know he's lined up on the wrong side. We got problems, right? We got problems. There's going to be a foul one way or the other, right? That guy's getting it on the field. Could be a pass, but in the most cases, especially as you come up, don't move them in between plays. Don't move them until in between plays.
One thing you need to do is establish a relationship
Yep.
with that whitest guy. So, first and third, well, for the first quarter, you're gonna see the same receivers for the most part. Second quarter, they're gonna flip, so it's gonna be different. But you need to establish a relationship, saying, here's my expectation, don't lean.
Mhm.
Your first job before you get the plays, looking and lining them up. So if you can build that real quick, we typically won't have any issues with this. But you gotta talk to them right off the rip.
No, absolutely. Yep. And of course, we need to know about false start. And there is no such thing as offside in high school football. It's called encroachment. The reason they call it encroachment is because it's dead ball. So there's no, I can get back. No. Once you break the neutral zone, dead. The only free play is if you have a guy running off the field on a substitution. So in that case, the guy's trying to get off the field. He's just late getting off the field. You can have a free play. But most of the others.
Stop it before that happens. If you see that it's on the field.
But if he's running off the field, I'm going to let him try to get off. I mean, if he's in formation, sure, kill him.
Yeah.
Right? But if clearly the offense is in the advantage, they should be able, if they're capable and smart enough to be able to snap that ball before that kid gets off the field, they should be able to snap that ball. I mean, you're taking something away from them, in my opinion, by going play.
It's the thing of three plays.
And I already talked about this. In the 3-man JV game. We keep the clock on the field. If that's you, if you're keeping the clock on the field, typically it's a line judge. Because the head linesman has chain responsibility, you don't. So you presumably have less to do. So you've got the clock. Make sure that you both confirm downs every play and make sure that you're thinking about the clock is going to start on the snap or it's already should be run. Right? And we're going to learn that if you just learn the few reasons why the clock starts on the snap and you just learn those, every other reason, the clock should be running. Most times during a football game, the clock is running. You take the whole football game that takes about 2 hours, about 17 minutes of it is actually plays that are actually happening. If you piece all the huddle plays together, it's about a 17-minute watch. The rest of the time the clock is running, it's just between plays.
So like your first year, it's like this right here, like you have to master it. Like the fastest thing you need to master is this. The holds, the pass interference, the top, like all that other stuff, right, will come. Right?
Definitely.
You're going to miss that. Like this will keep coaches happy because they will be out of your ear for most of the game because of what starts everything.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Well, let's look at a couple plays. We have the penalties of the snap, things like that. But let's just look at this play because I love looking at this play. It's one of my favorite plays. I know we're almost out of time because I said 8 o'clock.
3rd down and 1.
That's movement on the offensive line. What? No.
What are you doing?
No, it's on red. See, go across.
Did more than one player move?
Offense. I'm good, thanks. Yes. All right. Yeah, there you go. Hey, you got movement. Movement, that's that way. That's that way. That's movement on the offensive line. What? No. No. No, it's on red. See, go across.
Tony said, I just wonderful people. No, but that's
Offense.
he was unhappy with the way NFA was kind of gloating as they ran up the score. Let's see. Let me just go back to this moment here. So we're gonna see slow motion. I want you to watch this official down here. Do you see the defense in the neutral zone before the guy lifts up? By the way, you know who the officials are here?
That's moving on the offensive line. What? No. No.
No, it's on red. Chico cross.
Offense.
Look at it from.
Things too is, like, if you go back, he threw it all the way here. It's like, so I'm gonna disagree on Mike on which side to go because I prefer that, but it doesn't need to be out here. So if I'm the wing official, right? It's out and go. It's not a throw. Like a throw is a hold. A throw is a pass interference, right? But like as a wing official, whether it's false start or encroachment, we just drop. We just drop. Just drop it. You know, it sounds like, so what's the big deal? Because those little things make it look sharp and clean, right? And for mechanically, people pick up on that stuff.
Right. And typically dead ball is over the head. Like unsportsmanlike or false starts. They don't have to be, if you throw them too high, like my first time I ever threw a dead ball foul, I threw it in the stand. You know, woo! Okay, you know, it just has to go up. The natural carry of the flag will.
Sportsmanlike conduct, you want to get them up.
Oh, you want to get them high, higher.
You want to emphasize that the guys have.
Yes, I understand. But the key thing is here, we got our line judge, our umpire, our head linesman, and our referee all together, right? All of them have information, right? I know I'm burning time. I just want you guys to take a look at what the quarterback did on this play.
That's moving on the offensive line. What? No. No.
No, it's on red. Chico cross.
That's what the defense was responding to. The defense wasn't looking at the ball; they were looking at the quarterback.
Offense. Oh, good, thanks. Yes. All right. Yeah, there you go.
It's possible. Or a running back might have missed the snap count, right? Running backs who miss the snap count, they're like this, and they go, oh, right? That's the referee. The referee gets the backs. We get the line. The umpire gets also the offensive line. The umpire who's the guy that's standing over here behind the offensive line, can he see whether the defense has crossed? No. So he's throwing because he saw somebody lift up on the offense. Everyone's got different information. We come together, we explain what we had, right? But ultimately, the referee is going to have to make a signal, right? Now, I don't, if I'm the referee, I'm not necessarily going to make the decision. The crew is going to make the decision, right? I'm just the reporter, right? It just happened on this play that when Kevin came up, he said, that's all that happened? Well, I had the referee doing this. I was going to talk to him, but given all that happened, we're going to put it on him. Make sense? And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know what down and distance it was? 31. Why do you think the offense did that? To get a cheap first down in a play where they were not getting first downs because Stonington was stoning them. They were stone cold stopped all game. So we tried to get a cheap first down. Football IQ, right? We went on the offense. That's the current call, right? But you see how it's close. You go slow motion. We don't officiate in slow motion, right? We definitely don't appreciate snapshots, right? You always get after the Super Bowl, somebody will send a picture of Aaron Donald in the neutral zone or something like that. It's not how we appreciate it, right? So, any questions? All right, I think we'll stop there. I will share this information. Did I get your application? So I want to make sure that I get your email address. I'm going to put an email out. I will send you this as a PDF because the PowerPoint is like 6 gigs or something. So I'll send you a PDF version of it, and then we'll just pick up where we left off. Next week is no problem for me. I think it's the 4th of April, right? The week after is where I need help because I have to go over to Erie, Pennsylvania on the Saturday after that Friday. Yeah, I need someone to cover. We'll probably talk about the clock. So I'm going to stop the sharing and I'll stop the video. That's fine.